And lawyers, guns, and money.
With that being said, Dan, let me turn it over to you. Why don't you fill us in and fill our lovely audience in on, I guess, the latest breaking in the Zion Williamson case?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's breaking news, but for those of us who've been following the case, we've been waiting for this decision from U.S. District Court Judge Loretta Biggs in the Middle District of North Carolina. Zion Williamson has filed a motion for judgment on the pleadings in which he attacks Gina Ford. Now, I don't know if I need to sort of go over the history of the case, but Zion Williamson's ex-agent, marketing agent, sued him for breach of contract in Miami-Dade County Circuit Court, and Zion Williamson sued her in the Middle District of North Carolina. It's essentially a marketing deal gone bad, in which the terms of this deal are so onerous. It provides Gina Ford, who, by the way, has never represented another NBA player, is only known for being one of the marketing representatives for Usain Bolt. Nonetheless, she landed the most marketable collegiate basketball player like in history, or at least since Michael Jordan. And I don't know how she did it, but she signed it. Not only did she get the deal, but she has a lifetime contract. It's in perpetuity. It's non-terminable, except for cause, right? So she has her hooks into him for the rest of his career. And eventually he got wise, talked to some other people, and decided, you know what, I'm going to go with CAA as my marketing agent, and I'll bring a declaratory judgment action in North Carolina federal court. So that's what he did. And he seized upon a North Carolina statute called the Athlete Agents Act, which, you know, we could take a whole episode to go over this history. So anyway, long story short, Williamson believes and has asserted that his contract with Gina Ford is void ab initio, invalid, because it was entered into at a time when he was still a student athlete and she had never registered as an athlete agent in North Carolina. Alternatively, she had communications with him and his family at a time when he was definitely still a student athlete. So her response to that is to say, you took money to go to Duke. You were never an eligible student athlete because your whole career at Duke was marred by pay for play. So it kind of led to this, you know, dueling lawsuits. Zion has his case in North Carolina. She has her case in Florida. And of course, she wants to sue in Florida because the law of the North Carolina Athlete Agent Act, which would invalidate the contract, has no applicability in a Florida court because the Florida version of that statute only applies to Florida student athletes. So there are all these venue selection issues, forum shopping, choice of law, and it's all coming to a head any day or any week. And I would expect either the lawsuit to go away because Judge Biggs enters judgment on the pleadings, in which every claim would collapse if he wins on the ultimate issue of the contract being invalid. But if she denies that motion, it's going to open up the floodgates, sort of like Dante's Inferno, and you're going to see depositions of, you know, Mike Krzyzewski, depositions of Zion, his family. Duke is going to get subpoenaed. The NCAA is going to be subpoenaed. Holy hell is going to break loose. So there's a lot riding on the line here.
See, if it opened up the floodgates, wouldn't that put out Dante's Inferno?
I mix my metaphors a lot. The floodgates of hell. I don't know if that.
Listen, there's a devil's advocate analogy in there.
Okay.
And you left me the best part. I'm surprised. I mean, so Dan.
There was an oral argument yesterday too.
Well, I was going to say that the best part was the Zion ID saga, which you decided to leave me. The oral argument's interesting, but I think the Zion fake ID saga, I think is relevant here. So for those that don't, I should mention Dan Wallach is on Twitter at Wallach Legal, myself at Sports Law Lust. Dan and I, from time to time, will find ourselves in the middle of the heart of an issue. And I think probably our biggest day on Twitter was when Dan, you found, and Dan is, for those that don't know, Dan is a hawk on e-filing. He sees all these cases when they come out. So when I say breaking news, it's something that's like kind of just occurring. When Dan says breaking news, Dan is literally breaking the story because he's on e-filing like a hawk, finding these different things.
Yeah,
So,
well, we've had that discussion off mic.
well,
What is it to be breaking?
I think
you have to be the one to break it.
Well, let's hold on. So when ESPN breaking news pops on, ESPN news doesn't always break it. They just like are saying like something is like happening in the vortex of sports. Hold on. This is like this wasn't meant to be so interactive, but I really am curious about this. Okay, if somebody else, let's say like Joe Schmo, right? Other podcasts, I'm just making up. Some other person breaks a story, right? And they're like, breaking, I spoke to Steve Cohen and he's actually buying the Mets. Congrats to Mets fans, by the way. Steve Cohen has bought the team. Apologies, Bill de Blasio, because your plan to foil Major League Baseball did not work. But importantly, okay, I feel like I can say breaking news if like ESPN writes breaking news, like I can write breaking news. Do I have to credit ESPN that they broke the news?
10-minute grace period. If the news broke 4 hours earlier, it's no longer breaking news. It has to be almost contemporaneous.
So what? So okay. So Dan told me that
you could say just in, or you could say new,
or like new, but like breaking it sounds so much like it's breaking. It's like Stone Cold breaking through the glass. Like there's a real kind of like exigency.
The truth is, it will get more engagement.
But it is breaking.
Just in.
Neither here nor there. So I will say Dan's done a wonderful job following this case. I do want to point out, I think for those that are tracking this lawsuit, on a number of levels, right? We've seen guys, and not to draw such a crazy comparison, but you've seen players like Odell Beckham Jr. just got banned from the LSU program. Obviously, Zion Williamson is not with Duke anymore, but there are still penalties that could come if if Zion lied to the university in any way, shape, or form. But there could be sanctions on Duke if there is some large cover-up behind the scenes. But Dan, I will say, because you and I have had this conversation, innocent until proven guilty, right? Zion has not been convicted of anything. And Dan, you're very quick to point out the Gina Ford legal team, right? This, like the Fantastic Four of legal team, however many lawyers are on this team. I feel like almost every week there's some type of real legitimate gaffe that they're making. If it's serving a dentist when they tried to serve the NCAA, or basically bringing in fraudulent evidence like this fake ID. I mean, where do you think this case is going? I mean, do you think it's still has legs?
Well, I think it underscores that there's more to a case than just the trial. Like Willie Gary is Gina Ford's attorney, and he has a reputation of securing, multi-million-dollar verdicts against corporate America. Yeah, he's a legendary trial lawyer, but he can't do pre-trial procedure for shit. He really can't. They've had two subpoenas. Yeah, they've had two subpoenas that have been rejected by the court. Not enough copies, this defect or that defect. They've had 3 subpoenas that have not even gone to the intended party, either because the court rejected them or they mailed a dentist. And they are basically, they bought an index number to try to, secure or try to leverage a settlement here, because they're not doing any of the grinding or grunt work or hard work that's necessary to work a case up. Both lawsuits were filed about a year and a half ago. You know how many total depositions Gina Ford's legal team has taken so far? Answer, Dan? Just missed it. 1 deposition of a CAA agent in the Miami-Dade County Circuit Court. Have you ever?
For those listening, I was holding up a big 0, but we should.
Okay.
For the record.
If for any of you out there, and if you're hired by law firms and you're the associate or the junior partner on a case of this magnitude, and you've handled or you've noticed 0 depositions or 1 deposition, you're going to get fired. Okay. The case is not going to try itself.
Are you saying Gina Ford should fire her attorneys, Dan? I think you might have said that.
If I were advising her, I would tell her that they're really screwing things up. And in addition, Willie Gary's going to get himself disqualified.
Is Gina watching this? No, I just checked. She's not.
No. Go ahead. Willie Gary's also going to get himself disqualified. One of the allegations, there were text messages that were introduced into evidence by Zion Williamson. Gina Ford was trying to get Zion Williamson's mother to have Willie Gary review the proposed marketing agreement that Williamson ultimately signed. The same Willie Gary who's now representing Gina Ford in litigation against Zion Williamson. So if this case isn't dismissed on a motion for judgment on the pleadings, he's really courting a disqualification motion for trial. Now, motions to disqualify are only, that the zone for when they apply are the trial of the action, not pretrial discovery. So I don't think the opportunity to get him disqualified is ripe yet. But truth be told, he's making so many errors and so many mistakes in the case. Why would they want him to be fired? If he's fired, Gina Ford might hire a better attorney. So I think the way that this is headed is probably for a dispositive ruling in favor of Zion Williamson within the next couple of weeks. Now, there was an interesting wrinkle yesterday during the oral argument in Florida's 3rd District Court of Appeal. That's a sort of a satellite portion of the case in which Gina Ford is trying to shift the legal battle from North Carolina to a Miami State court. And Williamson has been resisting that on the basis that the court or the state of Florida lacks jurisdiction over him. So Gina Ford's newest Hail Mary here is that she used the NBA's return to play in the Orlando bubble as a jurisdictional hook to tie Zion Williamson to the state of Florida, because I guess the Pelicans might have played a couple of games in the Orlando bubble, and on the basis
he did,
and on the basis of those few games played in a bubble because of the pandemic, Gina Ford is trying to argue that Zion Williamson has availed himself of the privileges of the Forum of Florida.
So, Dan, you and I could talk Zion every day. I think the commonality of all these Gina Ford arguments, they're like, I feel like she's stretching at every single avenue. Like, okay, Zion was living in the bubble. He played like 8 games and then they got eliminated from the playoffs. So I don't know. Do I like when I go on vacation to Florida, like, am I living in Florida? No, like I don't have a jurisdiction.
Well, doesn't general jurisdiction have to be continuous and systematic? I think the problem is, if you're going to use these kind of threadbare contacts like playing in the bubble, there has to be a specific personal jurisdiction allegation tying it to the cause of action.
She's not gonna get that by you and I, Dan. Two really maybe the smartest Dans that are doing a podcast together in sports law, like that I've ever heard of. Maybe. Okay.